Hello there. That was much better than last week. I'm super excited. Hey everyone, my name's Mark, aka The Canardian, and you are listening to episode 22 of the Holocron Chronicles podcast. I'm joined, as always, by my trusty co-pilot, the best person in all the galaxy to go on this journey with, Mr. Charlie Carden. How you doing today, Charlie?
Well, I'm doing even better now that this guy has come home.
So,
Prince Shizor here is the trophy of the summer movie wager that Todd and John, who is our other founding secret friend or other college roommate, that we started this journey back in 2016. I purchased him at my local comic shop. He'd been sitting there for 20 years. He was down to $3 American in price. I purchased him. I think I lost him the first year, and I finally got him back, and then he went again, and so he's back home again for the first time in 3 years. So
excellent.
Very glad to have him. So he's gonna be our co-pilot this episode.
I was very honored to be invited into this summer movie wager, and I didn't expect to win, but I'm happy I didn't come in last.
I didn't expect to win, and I didn't win.
I didn't. I definitely didn't. I didn't understand the rules for the first part of it. I didn't know what we were wagering. It was a fun mess, but I was very happy to be invited with the old school Secret Friends crew. So thanks for having me, and congratulations on winning that marvelous Star Wars themed trophy. That's fantastic. That brings back some Nintendo 64 memories for me. But before we go down that path, I need to introduce our guest, who I am so excited to have on the show. Bryan, welcome to the show. Would you like to introduce yourself?
Hello. My name is Bryan from Pink Milk. I'm feeling like there is a smell coming through the airwaves, though, that I might be just do anything I'm told to do.
Really?
I'm already not landing. Didn't Prince Shizor have what's in his pheromone?
Yes, now I get it.
Oh.
Yeah, I mean everybody always says that humor is funny when you have to explain it. I mean everybody.
Exactly. Yep. We're already up to a great show.
We're totally fine.
You're digging up some memories. I'm trying to think of how old I was when I played that game, and it's N64. I'm saying maybe 10. So you're bringing up some pretty decently old memories, and I have not revisited the property since. So
you don't need to.
The for having that kind of memory.
Not bad.
Revisit the soundtrack. The soundtrack's great.
Mm-hmm.
Right. Good
so
stuff.
Bryan, like you said, you're the host of Pink Milk, one of my favorite Star Wars podcasts.
Thank you.
We're gonna go through a few questions about Pink Milk specifically, but first off, I want to know a little bit more about you.
Sounds good.
How you got into Star Wars. Let's hear, for any new guests, we always have their Star Wars origin story. Let's hear yours.
Well, I am a very young 42-year-old, so I do not know a world without Star Wars. It has been there forever. Return of the Jedi's, I remember seeing it in the movie theater. I remember two scenes from the movie theater. But I grew up with them on VHS, and I've never left. Like during the dark times, it's just, unlike Rey, there's been something inside of me, but it's always been there. It didn't just, and I didn't, just announce it. But yeah, right. It's always been around. Excellent. I love it. It's my favorite thing.
Charlie, are you happy? I finally got a guest that's not 20 years old. And
another oldster. Yeah, there we go. Yeah.
So someone I actually remember seeing the original trilogy in the theater a little bit.
Oh, a little bit.
That's something that I can't even say. Like born in '84, I missed it. Right. So this is
children.
Yeah, so it's fun to have someone that's got that kind of a storied past. Not that I don't love the other guests, but it's great to have someone that's been ingrained. I always say
all the youngins,
much merchant stuff. It's been ingrained since
so
birth.
Much merchant stuff. I love it.
When I was in junior high and high school, we used to have this old movie theater. It's no longer here, unfortunately, but it was one of those old school one screen theaters, that had the curtains that came back and all that. It was really awesome. And they used to play all three of the original trilogy, before the re-releases too. So you would go every summer and you were in line all day. They'd play them back to back. So I used to go a couple times a summer. That was that's probably where the bulk of my like theater memories are, because I was
That's awesome.
13, 14, something like that. Yeah.
That's amazing.
Nice.
So with that being said, are the original ones your favorite? Like, what's your favorite? Do you have a favorite movie specifically, or maybe a grouping of movies, or where do your allegiances lie?
I love all of Star Wars.
Okay.
All of it.
Yep.
My Star Wars is my favorite. My Star Wars is Clone Wars. Like, I think Clone Wars is the foundation of all of Star Wars. It's my favorite. Yeah, I mean, I can go on and on and on about Clone Wars all day long, every day. Return of the Jedi is my favorite movie, though.
Yeah.
Return of the Jedi. All of ours always change, right? A little bit, maybe not.
Absolutely, it's
not
fluid,
number one
completely. Yeah.
Yeah. But I would say Return of the Jedi and Attack of the Clones are always my top two. And this last few years, especially this last year, Solo is like kind of my number three.
All right.
I just enjoyed Solo and then Rogue One, which is my favorite post OT for me. And then watched the OT recently. Actually, just watched Star Wars today. Did you catch Mark on our Facebook group? Or no, I put it on my regular feed on Facebook. The ultra top secret thing that I found that was like, I can't believe it took me this long to figure this out.
No, I think I missed that.
Okay, so, and I'm sorry to steal your thunder away, Mr. Guest Man.
I love it.
But as they're in Tatooine, they're walking into the cantina. Obi-Wan says, "Now you better watch yourself. This place can be a little rough." Luke says, "I'm ready for anything." In the foreground, so obviously between us and Luke and Obi-Wan, an extra walks past. He is wearing Han's pants and Han's shirt untucked. It's the damnedest. It's the damnedest thing. I was like, they were really stretching every budget dollar in that movie. I'm telling you, oh my God.
I'll have to give that a rewatch. I'm actually right now rewatching them all chronologically, so I'm on Attack of the Clones
nice
right now. So I will get to New Hope before too long, but first I'm really excited to go through Solo and a couple of others that I haven't watched in a little while. So very exciting. Who's your favorite character, Bryan?
I have to give three.
Okay, that's 100% like in line with everything else we do. Like if anyone ever asks my favorite stuff, I'm like, I think there's a couple episodes ago I was like, here are my favorite 100 Jedi. Let's go. Three, 100%. Let's go.
I have to. I'm a big like Holy Trinity type of person, anyways. But Luke Skywalker is my childhood hero, like so many.
Word.
Ahsoka Tano is probably, if I really had to get nitty gritty and only pick one, would be Ahsoka and Din Djarin. I have come to love and relate to so much. I relate to each of these three characters in like, I think my three very different stages of life, and get a lot from each of them.
Absolutely.
That I appreciate.
Yeah. Really, really good choices. And yeah, I love all three of those as well. They're definitely my top 200 Star Wars characters. No, I'm just.
if I really had to dig deep, if I really had to get
if I had to narrow it down,
if I had to get it all the way down there, yes, absolutely.
It's funny how part of me always wants to go back and say like my favorite of something is something from way back. You ask me about video games, I'm like, I feel like I have to choose something from the Super Nintendo era. If you ask me about Star Wars or characters, I'm like, I feel like I have to go back to the original trilogy. So it's funny how much some of the newer characters like Din really resonate. And I don't know if it was the time in my life when I was watching Mandalorian. It was like, you get that kind of new father vibe kind of thing. And then seeing, as you guys famously say on your show, Luke kidnap Grogu. That's
a Grogu nap.
Grogu nap. I don't have a lot of friends with my Jedi thoughts lately, or that particular statement that is true.
We're not going to get into that. So based on your favorite characters, I'm gonna guess I know the answer to this, but light side or dark side, which do you usually tend to lean? If you had force powers, where do you think you would go?
do not believe in a binary, and I would not be either one. I'm all about force users. I think.
Okay.
That's some of the stuff. Just to give a sneak peek about Visions that we'll talk about later, that I love some of Visions, but like the Night Sisters and their view and their use of the Force is probably where I would lean the most into. Like, I'm a bit of a hippie. If you're watching this on the YouTube thing, like, we can't see them anyways, but I've got like tattoos. They're all like hippy dippy, like Mother Earth tattoos, and all of them. They're all spiritual stuff. So I would say Mother Talzin would probably be where I'd go to.
All right.
For some advice.
I like it. A lot of times on the show, I say that I would lean more towards the Ahsoka kind of thing. So I totally get that, where I definitely don't agree with most, if any, of the Jedi like rules or whatever. So I don't know if that makes me more Qui-Gon or like straight up Ahsoka. Like, I am no Jedi. Like that shit's toxic. But I still like, you can't like, but anything with a lightsaber, and I can't, who was it that said Omar, maybe, can you have like force lightning without being a total dick? Like, I love that. Cause it's like, yeah, there's some cool powers on the dark side. I just don't want to be an ass. So
Rey's got him now.
Right. Yes.
I assume she's gonna be able to tap back into that business.
That's right. Okay. So this may be a little spoilery for what we're going to talk about later, but this seems like a good time to bring it up. Watching Visions, I kind of had this realization that, or theory, I suppose, and I want to get your take on it. Force heal, is that an inherently evil or dark side power? Because in the final episode of Visions, and we're going to go full spoiler territory. So if you haven't watched Visions yet, maybe pause and come back, because the later part of this show is just going to be full spoilers, but we're getting into them now. So the last episode, we see a Jedi who comes back to help a princess out. Some shit goes down, and a dark side user says, "Join me. I will help you save your princess." He calls her master. They put their little handies on her, and they heal the princess through.
Oh,
force
they feel
so
what now?
They get the force heal going, and they heal the princess, and they go off to do some dark side bananas. So with that being said, when we saw Rey use it, we know that she was a Palpatine and had used some powers, consciously or not. I always assumed watching that she read it in the old Jedi text that she had, but maybe not, because we've seen Grogu use it, and who said that Grogu had some attachment issues and could go into the dark side? Ahsoka. Is that inherently holding on to something? Are you not letting go of the person who's hurt or the thing that's hurt? Are you instead holding on to that attachment? Is it inherently a dark side power? And could that be one of the reasons why there was some fear with Grogu? Could that have been Rey tapping into her Palpatine-ness? And is that why we see it in Visions as a dark side power? And again, Palpatine saying that, like, some things the Jedi can't teach you, but I can. Now we know that didn't really work out for old Anakin, but that's what my thought all day. Like, that popped in my head this morning. What do you guys think?
So much of everything as it evolves with the Jedi, maybe from behind and then back to what's considered the present, is so very gray, because it anytime you deal with individuals, and again, I am not by any means, I was raised Catholic, but I'm by no means anyone that follows organized religion. I have very deep-seated distrust of organized religion, and that's what the Jedi is. It's very dogmatic. It's very do this and do that, or you're expelled, or you're going to hell, which is getting kicked out. But so much of the way that we live, and again, you think of Star Wars, those people are human. We're human. They speak a language similar to ours, or at least that's what we hear. It's kind of the old Star Trek theory that everybody has the universal translator in their television. That's why everybody speaks English across the galaxy, or the quadrants that they travel. But if you think about people in Star Wars being human, they're going to have the same failings and psychological cleavages that we all have that make us want to do right or do wrong. And, getting the chocolate into the peanut butter, where does it mix? You know what I mean? So is healing someone wrong because it's selfish and you're not allowing them, as Yoda said, to celebrate their passing into the Force, miss them not, be happy for them. That's also, it's a very Klingon thing, because it's the same thing that, I'm very glad because he's crossed the river into Sto-Vo-Kor, he has joined the honored dead. That part of it is very similar, I think, between the two. And just so you know, Bryan, the other thing I host on this network is a Star Trek program, because that's my real love. So I'm the Star Trek guy. So I can never not do the show and not drop a little Star Trek in there. It's impossible. I can't avoid it. But I think it's hard to look at any Jedi post Fall of the Jedi, at the end of the prequel trilogy, post Clone Wars, and not think of them all as being a little gray. You know what I mean?
Right. They don't have the council or whatever, like kind of.
Well, I think that it's allowing nature to take its course, and when nature takes its course, it's the same thing that we as adult children learn about our parents, is that parents are just people. Yeah, maybe they fucked up raising us, but they did the best they could. It's kind of the same thing with the Jedi. You know what? They're out there. They're either doing the best they could or they're doing the worst they can. And that's very pulled apart. But when someone is force healing, it's simply, you know what? I want to help you. I don't want you to suffer. I don't want you to die.
Right.
So the antithesis of that is that, well, I'm a Jedi and I don't have attachment, so I'm just going to let you die. Well, then why do we have the back to tanks in the first place? Come on. Why do you give Anakin a new arm at the forearm? Just let him be stumpy. Why not? He's not going to miss his arm. Yeah. So yeah, I think everything is inherently very gray with the Jedis in kind of the postmodern era, as it were.
Bryan, what do you feel about my little theory there?
I don't think. It's so funny. I think it was on your last episode where y'all were talking about gray Jedi and stuff, and I was like yelling at my car on the drive into work because I am not a gray Jedi person. I think that is a Jedi thing, and I think it's a term to, in no tea or no shade to anyone that does use it, but for me, I think it's another means of control, and if you're not light, then you're dark, and if you're somewhere in between, you can go either way. And I always feel like it's a control thing. So I think there are Force users, and then there are people that belong to different religions and different institutions that teach different things, certain sorts of ways. And again, I'm going to get your listeners very mad at me because I am in an awkward spot with the Jedi. But I think the Jedi, of course, don't want to teach it because they don't want attachment, because they want to control you. And I think Jedi's intentions are altruistic. Religion. Exactly. I don't think the Jedi are evil, but I think they're very narrow-minded, which we learn in the prequels anyways. They come to that realization themselves.
And they love power, just like Palpatine. But on
the
opposite scheme, yeah.
I think when Palpatine teaches it to Anakin, that episode we're talking about is Akakiri, I think is how you say it.
Yes.
I really hope Anakin never sees that because I feel really bad for Anakin. It didn't work out for him, and it worked out for that person. Instantly. And we don't know, can that person come back? We're not going to know. We don't know that story yet.
Right.
But no, I don't think it is. I think it depends how you use it. And if we talk about that episode later, we can go on that. Grogu's certainly not using it as a possessiveness of,
Right. So
I don't
one comment, I did share this in a Discord group, and Sergeant Seth, a friend of the show and friend on Twitter, said he likes to think that in canon, Force heal is both light and dark side. The only difference is that with the dark side, the person is transferring someone else's life force into the person they're trying to save, whereas in the light side, you're giving up some of your own light force, like Rey did when she was saving the snake, or like Rey and Ben both kind of did back and forth. So we see Palpatine putting his hand on Anakin on Mustafar, and Padme dies around the same time. So did he Force drain Padme to save Anakin, that kind of stuff. So that's Sergeant Seth, and I have to say, like, I love that addition to that little, like I said, brainworm kind of theory that popped in my head this morning. And I think Seth kind of like fixed it for me. he like rounded that out perfectly. So that's it. So before we start talking a little bit more about Visions, though, I'd love to hear a little bit more about your show, Pink Milk. Let's dive in. What's it all about?
So Pink Milk, we talk Star Wars queerly. We are an LGBTQ plus podcast. All of us on the show are members of this fantastic community. And if you're not a part of Gay Star Wars on Twitter, because we all know Twitter can be Twitter, even if you're not gay, go follow and find Gay Star Wars people, because it's like the best party ever. Like, it's very 100%. Rarely mean. It's so much fun. It's a great time. But yeah, Pink Milk, we generally take like deeper dives into like the emotional journey of Star Wars. We don't spend a lot of time on canon, what's not canon. We've done trivia because our listeners asked us to, Tom and I, and we usually both fall on our face because we are not trivia people. Like, I love Star Wars so much, but I am not that person who can tell you what Star Destroyer that was. And that's not my jam. I love people that can do that. But we kind of approach Star Wars from a very personal and our own journeys in life and other people's, our guests' life and stuff like that, and how we can relate real life issues and examine it and study it through the lens of Star Wars is kind of what we've become. We talk a lot about found family. My husband, who does the show with me, one of our shows, we've adopted 3 children through the foster system, and so Star Wars is very much that. And then to throw in, found families, an inherent trait to the LGBTQ plus community as well. So we talk a lot about found family. It's a great time. The show's turned into something I never thought it would, and I'm just really, really grateful. It's such a
fantastic show.
It's good deal.
And both sides of the show, whether it's the live recording, which is, to me, just ballsy. I've been doing podcasts for a long time, and I love having that editing time. You'll see in the show, sometimes I'll say, no, I'm leaving that in, or I messed up that beginning, or screw it, we'll forget that. And other times you'll see, if you watch the video, you'll see a clear jump, maybe a shirt change. Stuff happens. So maybe you guys just going like live. What was that like? Was that like a decision of like, let's just do it live, or was that just something that naturally happened with you guys recording?
Okay. Yeah. So when we first started, I didn't think, like I said earlier, I'm 42 and I've seen a lot as a gay person. And we talk a lot about this on the show. I think I have scars that I still see the world through that might be different now, but it's hard for me sometimes to catch up, unfortunately.
Understandable.
So my husband is not a Star Wars fan. He's a casual fan at best, as our listeners have deemed him. So I thought the best part of the show would be like having a Star Wars podcast that like non-super fans could listen to, and I was really naive in thinking a non-Star Wars fan would listen to a Star Wars podcast. Like, that should have been a decent light bulb that went off that did not. But people latched on to, I think, our conversations about found family, and then like queer coding and stuff that would come up. And so that's just kind of what happened with the show over time. And I'm really, really happy that it did, because it's been a really amazing experience. And so when Tom and I are recording, we're hobbyists, and I've learned how to do all this on the fly like so many other podcasters, right? But Tom and I kind of edit as we go, as a time-saving thing, because we're right here so we can stop and start. And Lord knows no one wants to know how long it takes us to say the first 10 seconds of our episode, because it's ridiculously so many takes. But after The Mandalorian came out in our first year, I find that show to be a very queer show. I think to me, Din Djarin is a gay dude. There is no ifs, ands, or buts about it. He and Cobb Vanth are going to get married and raise Force-sensitive babies through the galaxy.
Yeah.
Cool.
So, but when I was watching it, I was like, this is like really, really incredible. I related to that show as a gay person so much. I've never related to a Star Wars character as like one to one as I do Din.
Yeah.
And then so we decided to do a queer roundtable. And so we reviewed the whole first season of The Mandalorian with a bunch of people that I had never met. I just put out a Twitter call, and we had probably by the end 12, 13 different queer people. We all shared our story, got very emotional. It's really heavy.
Mm-hmm.
So if you want to go back and listen, honestly, they're really, really beautiful stories. And a bunch of strangers just really opened up our chests and poured everything out. They're incredible. I'm very proud of them. And that's where I met Mark and Emma, who I do the live stream with. And so I was like, when we were done with this like 5-week roundtable, I was telling my husband, I was like, I can't go back to the way you and I talk about Star Wars, which I love too. Like, it's a very different. They're two really different shows. The kinds of conversations.
Great.
Yeah. And I just really, I mean, I love all those people. Mark and Emma and I just really, really hit it off. I think we all see Star Wars very differently. And so I was like, I like this. And the live thing is just a time saver because I don't have time to edit. So it was straight up like, we're going live, we can run with it, and we'll whatever. Sometimes it's gets really thirsty, it's chaotic, but I think hopefully in the best possible way.
I love the energy that doing the live show brings, because you get the chat in there, you get the different opinions and stuff, and like you said, you all have very different opinions, but it's somehow all civil and all works. And it's such a fantastic show. And like I said, I love the energy, and the live chat brings in such a different energy as well. So it's a really, really cool show. And I love that origin. That's great, of just bringing together for all these amazing stories and then staying together. And I know on I don't think it was the most recent, but maybe 2 episodes ago, you did talk about finally meeting for the first time and all that kind of stuff. So I knew there was some kind of story there, but I wasn't sure about the origin, so I wanted to ask.
Yeah, now Chase has joined us too. Chase joined us back in July. They were we call our chat room the steam room because they get very thirsty. It gets very dirty in there sometimes. I'm full warning. It's a late night on a Friday, and it gets steamy. So Chase was in the steam room almost every single night, and we developed like a Twitter friendship or whatever, and then they launched a YouTube channel called That Gay Jedi, which is really amazing. You should check it out if you haven't listened. It's great. But now they joined, and they bring in a fresh perspective too, because Mark, Em, and I were all in our 40s, and Chase is a 20-something.
Right.
Really kind of got into Star Wars like full steam more recently, and so it brings in a very different perspective than anything that we have, and it's really it's a really, really great experience because, like you said, I think very rarely do we agree on things, and it's great because I think it allows I hope a very welcoming and encouraging space for a lot of people to come into, because we're not we revel in the idea that we're different. We don't we look forward to it. It's great.
Yeah,
it's really
for
great
sure.
experience.
For sure. It's it's a refreshing, like you said, that both shows, they play really well against each other, and you and your husband, it reminds me of like if I started a Star Wars podcast with my wife. Like, she has seen all the movies, she watched Mandalorian with me kind of half begrudgingly. She won't really do Visions, but like I'd push that, like if we had a show or something, but like completely that's the exact vibes that I think we would put off as well. Like, just me being like, oh my God, look at this. And just like, that was great. Cool. It's so great. It's really good. I love what you guys do, and I hope you just kind of keep it up. That's it's great. So
it's we're still growing. I'm really proud. It's crazy. You've bigger and bigger all the time.
Super high profile kind of guest appearances recently, and keep going. Can you share anything that's coming up exciting wise, or
so next week I'll be talking to Emma Candone, and they wrote The Ronin, which is coming out on October 12th, I believe. It's the first Star Wars Vision novel. So it's really good so far. I've started it. I'm looking forward to speaking to them. I just honestly, I feel really lucky. Like, Emma's a fan of the show. That's how it kind of came about. And a few weeks ago, I spoke to Justina Ireland, who has written some great Star Wars High Republic books.
Mm-hmm.
Wow. Awesome.
She was an amazing experience. I just, we had Christina Ariel from the High Republic show on.
Yep.
That was a blast. I don't know. I feel really fortunate. We spoke to Katie O'Brien back in the Mandalorian, the comms officer.
Mm-hmm.
It's pretty cool. All these things that I never thought would have ever happened. I thought maybe like 5 gay people would listen. And over the course of the last couple of years, we're just about at our 2-year anniversary. Like, the majority of our listeners are all probably straight identifying people. And that was just something that I couldn't comprehend would have happened. But I've learned along the way, and we're very gay. So
you make good content and people will find it, I think.
That's
I
it.
think it does. I think it crosses whatever gulf that may be perceived. People care about good content. That's a good thing. Well, let's get the show on the road, Mark. We got to start talking about visions.
So before we do that, Bryan, could I get you to toast us in?
Oh yes. Are we ready? It's that time. Drink up.
That's why I needed to have it.
That's why you needed.
That's right.
I was anticipating that. I couldn't do a show without hearing the drink up. I am so happy right now. I could just stop recording, but we won't. Let's jump into Visions.
Okay.
Okay. So Star Wars Visions. We were all had a little group chat leading up to this episode. We knew we were going to touch something with Visions. And then they announced 2 days before it dropped, it was like, we're dropping all the episodes. And I think we collectively needed some depends. So let's
in mine.
Let's I think tackle this in a way of like overall thoughts. First off, like overall collectively, how did you feel about Visions now that we've seen them all? Bryan, let's start with you. Just like glance over.
I am over the moon. This is hands down easily my favorite Star Wars we've gotten since the new stuff.
All right.
Like, I love it. Like, it's given me everything I need. Love it.
Excellent.
I'm so happy.
Excellent. Charlie, how you feeling?
I am I'm no help because I'm not an anime guy. I have only dabbled here and there when a friend or a family member will introduce me. So I enjoy canon stories. I know in a lot of ways that's not popular, and I know that is something that we're going to kind of tackle later on in this. So I am guarded. I found something here and there that I liked, and there were some things in here that I really couldn't stand. So
gotcha.
Yeah, I'm not allowed to help.
No, that's great. Perfect. I want to hear both sides. I want to hear someone that loves it, someone that hates it, and I'm not really in between. I'm a little bit more leaning to where Bryan is because I loved most of this, and thought it was a lot of some, like the most creative stuff we've seen in Star Wars, or the stuff that's been taking the most risks, I think, that we've seen in Star Wars, or at least pushing the stories in different and weird directions. Some of them landed, some of them didn't, but I love that they're trying, and I want to see more. Not even specifically just anime. I just want to see them go in wacky directions all over the place. I live action shows, comics, whatever. I love what they're doing with the High Republic, but like I want to see some more just weird, wacky parts of this crazy big galaxy, and I love that Visions delivered on that. And we also got some of the just best lightsaber stuff that I've seen in a long time. And anyone that knows me knows that you throw a lightsaber in my face and I'm just like, woo, let's go.
In your face. Oh my goodness.
2 hours are just two
Not
people
too close,
swinging
though.
lightsabers around. I'm happy. It's all good. So with that, let's jump into maybe some of our favorite episodes. Bryan, what stood out for you?
I think my very favorite, even though I think they're going to change all the time. I feel like, but the Ninth Jedi,
narrow it down to your
favorite.
Your favorite 9. That's
the Ninth Jedi is like where it's at for me. It gave me, it pushed Star Wars forward. It pushed the origins of, and we got to see the next era of Jedi after another time jump of no Jedi. It brought back the idea of the Jedi being a myth and all of those things. And I was really, really, really here for the lightsaber mood rings. Like that was so amazing to me, and is really, really Star Wars. Like
Mm-hmm.
I love the risk. I love pushing the boundaries of what we think things are, but the creators of, I feel, all these really, really love Star Wars, and that's what you felt, that through everything, that they loved it, and they poured themselves into, through a Star Wars filter, and we got something new. And I think that was really beautiful, that moment at the end of the episode when Kara, is that her name,
Mm-hmm.
when it goes from a colorless lightsaber and it starts to turn green and she finds who she is really powerful. And I
Yeah.
think as a queer person, I think we have these moments where we finally fully embrace like all the parts of us that other people, maybe they don't have to in the same sort of ways. And you can tell there's sometimes you just come out a little lighter after you go through that process, and it was really cool.
That's great.
It was really
Yeah.
cool.
Yeah, I love it. I love it through that lens, and that was one of my favorite episodes. If not, I think that's probably my favorite as well. Um, like I said, I love lightsabers. I love lightsaber lore, and it just, yeah, I love that mythology of the lightsaber and of choosing your color or the color choosing you. And when I built my own lightsaber, that was something that I went through in Galaxy's Edge, and that was driving me crazy the whole time, blue or green. And I knew I wanted one of the two colors, but I was going to kind of let the experience kind of guide me and see what I picked at the time. And you close your eyes and they say to picture a color. And I swear to this day that someone shone a green light in my face, because I could just see it when I closed my
That's
eyes. And my wife was
beautiful.
behind me saying, like, there was nothing. The room was pitch black. And so I chose green, but it was still kind of pulling me in two different directions. And there were a couple of little weird things that happened during my build, that it wasn't a perfect process. The emitter wouldn't really screw on. There's a vision of me, a video of me lighting it up for the first time. And when I put it up in the air, you can see there's no emitter on the damn lightsaber. So afterwards, someone came up to me and they were like someone that works there, and they were like, we're sorry that wasn't a perfect experience, have this. And I got a blue crystal, so I can bounce back and forth. I was meant to have both. And I love that that is kind of a canon thing of, like, based on my mood, I can have blue, I can have green, I can have anything in between. And that's canon now. So it's kind of like,
Yep.
for me, it's like, yeah, you're not always the same person, like it's
100%.
based on that kind of thing. And I love that that's built into, like, lore, and whether it's canon or not, like, just give me more lightsaber culture or mythology. And I love that kind of stuff. It's so good. It reminds me of, like, the Legends books and stuff that I read when I was a kid, and just the young Jedi arc of Clone Wars, of them picking their crystal and going through the trials. It's such a great episode. I loved it. Charlie,
Yep.
what did you think of that one?
Gosh, guys, I'm so very little help when it comes to this, because a lot of it just goes past me. You know what I mean? I might be able to weigh in a little bit later on down the line, but right now I'm in a place where I'm just listening,
All right.
and
I think
I don't
that's
have a lot more to put in. So just keep talking.
All right. Sounds
well, in life in general, people need to do a lot more listening when they are in a place of absorption. There we go. That's going to be great podcasting. But it's true. I think that's great. Good on you, man.
Yeah.
I think one of my favorite things that came out of that episode was you brought up Ilum in the Youngling episode from Clone Wars, which is perfection.
Yep.
But like, I think we spoke about this on the live stream when we were talking about visions. Like Emma, one of our co-hosts, she's more into canon. She loves to float in between, but like she's a fanfic writer and does a lot of like canon writing. And she had a hard time at first with the idea that they weren't they were given a lightsaber. They didn't go find
Right.
their own crystal, right?
Mhm.
And one of the things that I loved about that was it just showed the desperation in the galaxy at that point in time.
Yep.
Like they fly up to the space station too. At some point, it looks very much like Starlight Beacon, which I thought was really cool. Like it brought it back all the way back there. But I loved that that there was someone who was trying to to keep the culture alive in the way that they knew how to do, and the galaxy was sending that person kyber crystal somehow. So was the Force knew what it had to do and was giving them to someone to give to someone else. I think it was I just think it was really powerful. I really loved it.
Yeah.
So great.
And it goes right back to the samurai influence of Star Wars and the samurai movies and that kind of stuff. Of you had these with samurai lore and samurai culture, you had these sword makers. They weren't warriors themselves. Often, they were the builders. They built the perfect blade, and the warriors went through trials and went through traveling to find this person up in a mountain that built this masterful sword that could defeat any other sword, and that's what they needed to overthrow the warlords that were causing havoc. And that was like those kind of samurai movies were the inspiration to Star Wars, and bringing it back to that with the sword maker. As much as I loved building my own lightsaber and the lore about building your own lightsaber, I really dug that addition to it of like, here's this crazy sword maker. He's not a Jedi, but he's who you need to talk to get that weapon. And it's an evolution from proto sabers to building your own saber to, we see in the Old Republic, the lightsabers were basically a fashion accessory. They change them out all the time, and this one's old, this one's, I'm getting an upgrade with whatever, to the original trilogy or even the sequels where lightsabers are rare, right? You're scrounging for parts, you're building scrap metal, that kind of stuff, to now they're even more rare, and you're kind of finding them from this one dude. So that evolution of the weapon is incredibly fascinating to me.
Love it. To go off topic, if you're really into swordsmen and all that stuff you were just talking about, there was an episode from like the mid 2000s Thundercats. I don't know if you ever watched that show, but there is an episode, I think it's called The Swordsman. It was from the first season, but there's this conversation about Lion-O with the Sword of Thunder, and like but they go into all of that stuff and understand the difference between the weapon and the wielder of the weapon, and it gets really like deep and spiritual about all that stuff. It's really rad. I highly recommend.
I'll have to check that out.
It's great.
All right, what's next? What other episodes did you like?
I loved the duel. I think that was another one. So I'm really loving that there's a book out of it, because I feel like that was, for me, that one and my other favorite. Like that one doesn't necessarily need the same kind of extra storytelling that I think some of these other episodes do. It was very much a day in the life of this person. It was like a Wednesday, and but I think it was really beautiful. That episode had so much world building. There was so much going on in that, and you felt the world that one set in, I think, more than any of the others. And one of my favorite things about the sequel trilogy is the invitation. Like, the sequel trilogy is very aware, just like the characters are very aware of what came before, and it invites you to have that kind of interaction with the films, and it allows you to put your own thoughts on things, and allows the characters to put their thoughts on different things. And I feel like the duel was kind of like that in a lot of ways. Like, one of my favorite parts was at the end of that episode when Ronan takes out that amazing Sith lady and opens up his jacket with the kyber crystals. And it very much harkens back to Grievous, who is a villain. And how Grievous got those sabers, right? And it's like, oh. And so for a second, you're like, oh, he really is actually still just a Sith. So what's going on? Like, why is he running away? But then he gives it to the little kid and says, this will help ward off evil spirits. And it was just this really powerful. And I think because we know Grievous, and that invitation to know the stories before made him that much kinder in that moment. Instantly. You're like, this is a solid dude who's now broken because he went down a dark path at some point in time, and he's trying to figure out how to get himself back. And is he filled with so much regret and darkness all around him that he's carrying around all of these kyber crystals to try to ward it away, to keep himself off that dark path? And like all of this in like 15 minutes. And it was like, it was so good. The whole thing with the teapot and like the communication between, like, what a solid dude. There was like, he meets this little 9-yub and he's really nervous. And to help calm him down, he like puts on this teapot, but really it's communication to his droid. And like we now know, like it was just, there was so much complexity.
Yeah.
And
it was Luke and Jabba's sail barge right there.
yeah, 100%. Like,
right.
So Charlie, with that comparison or revelation, I know you liked this episode. What a way to kick off this anthology or this series. What'd you think of this one as a way to kick it off?
I did. I liked it for all those same reasons. You know, the animation style, and again, I don't have a lot of great references. And you know, one thing that I guess I liked about the series overall is that they did, you know, shake up the snow globe, and I would assume they spread it across what would be established anime styles. But you know, as far as some kind of a narrative through point, and the fact that some of it just didn't seem like the Tatooine Rhapsody thing was just way past me. That was just, I really didn't enjoy it. I'm sorry. It just seemed like, oh, here's our chance to have a Star Wars rock band. I just was not for me. So it was a jumble for me, kind of the whole thing, but I still found moments of brilliance. But I still, you know, I know they were little vignettes. They were 15 minutes. It was a departure in storytelling. Maybe I just kind of need more time to digest it. I don't know. But yeah, I did like that, and being at least familiar with, you know, some version of the Ronin story, you know, the masterless samurai, the Ronin storytelling, and translating, you know, lightsabers into blades. It was just, it was fantastical, but Star Wars is supposed to be fantastical. So that much of it, you know, I can enjoy very much. So yeah, it's just something that in the end didn't end up being for me.
All right. Was I the only one that screamed, "I'm Mary Poppins, y'all," when she jumped off the building with that lightsaber umbrella? Was that just me? Was that anyone else?
Might be, but that doesn't invalidate the emotion.
No? All
yeah. Right. I will be now.
Cool. Yeah. She leaves off the thing. I'm like, "It's Mary Poppins, y'all," and she just goes. That was such a badass and stupid weapon, but damn, I loved it. And the fact that she like ripped it off, so it was almost like it was a relay emitter or something, like where the lightsaber kind of. Shit, I love that weapon. And she was just a badass character all around. But yeah, what a great way to start the series. Like, it set the tone so well. Like, you are getting Star Wars, you are getting Japanesey Star Wars. Enjoy. And or don't, or like get what you will out of it. But like it was setting it up.
I agree, but for me, the rest of it kind of shot a little sharply downwards. Particularly, it was like 1 and then 2, and then we kind of. But again, the beauty of all entertainment is that it means things to different people. And again, I'm not someone who enjoys the genre, so I can't really trash on any of it because I'm not a fan to start with, and I am able to admit that, where so many people would just say it all sucked. Right. Like I was talking to my friend John, who I mentioned previously, our original, you know, our college roommate, our secret friend, the person who's had the possession of Shizor for the longest, and he said it's all terrible because he also really just doesn't care for it. But I simply release myself to say that it's okay to be enjoyed by others. It's just not enjoyed by me.
So we heard some groans when Charlie mentioned he didn't like Tatooine Rhapsody. Bryan, that's one of your favorites, I'm guessing.
That's in my top 3.
Okay, because I loved that episode. And before you joined us in this chat, I'll go full behind the curtain. I was trying to tell Charlie about how it reminded me of like listening to Gorillaz and Prozac. I don't know if any Americans, like any non-Canadians, do you guys know who Prozac are? They're like the alternate.
We already covered this.
I know.
I don't, but okay. Emma from After Dark is also Canadian. So as soon as we're finished here, I will be texting her and saying Prozac ? Yes. And let's see what the reaction is going to be.
I can't wait. You need to screenshot that whole thing because just ask her about Prozac.
Yes, please.
Another animated band from Canada. But just like the Gorillaz, and this just spoke to, and I love the Star Wars music. I love the Who from Jedi Fallen Order. One of my favorite, like, because it's the first, I think, instance of recorded music in Star Wars, which was from Jedi Fallen Order with the Who and Sugana Senna.
Mm-hmm.
This one was like seeing this like pop rock kind of weird band, another and a callback to Fallen Order of like this Padawan who escaped and tried to find his way and just hide and not be a Jedi and find a new path. I like this one. I heard that it's not quite as corny in Japanese. How did you watch these? Let's go with that.
As corny.
Yeah, I haven't watched them in Japanese yet.
Okay, no,
I
me
am
either.
not a purist. I will. I want to. But Charlie, you keep going back to needing more time, and I'm with you. Like, if I have one gripe, and I know they're only 15 minutes, but I still wish there was only one a week. I'm not a fan
Yeah,
of binging.
no,
And
Yeah,
if I
yeah.
wasn't a podcaster of those things or on Twitter, I wouldn't care because I would take the time with them. But I think these things gave you so much to munch on. And I am like that Star Wars person who is like I take it all in and I need to sit with it for a while. And unfortunately, like we just haven't had the time to sit with it yet
yeah,
because we got 9. Um,
Right.
yeah.
that's
That's
Yeah.
my one kind of beef with
I'm
the
feeling the
whole
same
thing.
way. It was like I said when we found out that it was going to be released this way, like we kind of figured maybe we'd be talking about 2 episodes tonight, and like
Hmm.
to restructure and try to watch them all so we could talk about our favorites. And that it was just kind of it did feel like a rush, you know. And I mentioned even today on Twitter that like I have to go back and watch The Village Bride because it was one of those things where like I'm exhausted. I need to go to sleep. My eyes are halfway closed, but I'm like shaking myself awake to make sure I watch this because I had to finish them all this weekend to talk
Yep.
about them tonight. So I do want to go back, but I think those are some of our favorites, and we'll leave it at
Yep.
that for now. But I want to also talk about some characters because there's some awesome characters. We talked about Kara from the Ninth Jedi. Um, I think the Ronin probably
Hmm.
some favorites. Any others stand out?
Well, on Friday I got like side. What's the word? Like I collided with emotions that I was not anticipating when Chase and Mark were talking about 2B1, which was a great episode. But that character, I'm a big fan of droids as it is, and like L3 is one of my favorite Star Wars characters. I love what she represents. I
Yeah,
understand some of the easy jokes to go to, but I think that character, like a lot of Star Wars, it's an easy slapstick joke, like when she talks about the "it works" thing that everyone goes back to with her. But there's a lot of tragedy and a lot of heartache and a lot of
yeah.
subtext underneath that line that I don't think is talked about enough.
Mm-hmm.
But 2B1 reaches that, and I was sharing a story on Friday night about our my youngest son Michael, who is also a Star Wars super fan, and he really latched on to Star Wars very quickly. And when he first came, like I said, they all came from the foster system, so nothing good brought them into our house, which we talk about a lot. And
Oh,
he
that's
was
tough.
processing a lot of emotions, and that episode brought me back to this one day that I remember as clear as day. He was upstairs in our loft playing with the Star Wars toys, and he had a set of characters on one side of the table that were from a really nice family and a set of characters that was a really mean family. And you could tell that he was figuring out how to separate himself from some of the places that he had come from before. So to watch this episode that was a very childlike, a very dreamlike episode with this little droid who has seen so much trauma in his life, clearly with the way that planet is left, and processing his emotions as a Jedi, like it just hit me way too hard.
Mm-hmm.
And that the professor was such a great dad, like
Mm-hmm.
I aspire to be that great of a father and to instill that kind of thing in my child. It was really, that character spoke to me in a way that I would not anticipate. And I
Right.
think if I was not a dad, I wouldn't relate to that episode the same way
Mm-hmm.
that I do because I am.
Yeah.
He's a
Yeah.
great character.
That was a great episode. I love that. I love the character there was just so much hope and joy in that character. And try as he might, the professor slash dad slash Jedi,
Hmm.
tried to hide him away and tried to kind of keep that, but the universe had a different idea. But that was, yeah, it was a really good episode and a really great character. Um, I really liked Lop, and I know you kind of like that as well. And it's very, very to me similar kind of themes, I suppose, of that found family, which we've said on the show, and I know you've said it on your show. That's what Star Wars is about. If you don't get that, like, get out.
Yep.
So like that to me was, and that rebellion is built on hope, and that's what Lop was to me. So that I really, really enjoyed that character, and I just thought it was a kind of a badass character design.
Yeah, it's
The
so
Rabbit
funny. That
Jedi.
was the one on the trailers. I was like, I don't know. Like, she doesn't look super Star Warsy to me, but like, I'm like, okay, let it in. Like, it's fine. And then I
Right.
met that episode and I met that character. You know, we talk about it on our upcoming episode, but I think for me, at this moment in that episode, and I haven't had the ability to get back past this one idea yet, but as a father to foster kids, we see so many stories time and time and time again about a foster child who's angry, and they spend the first 2/3 of a story being bad and breaking the rules and all of that, but we all understand that they have trauma, and then at the third act, the parent comes in and says something and everything clicks, and then the son comes up and they're a happy family. Like, I think the idea that it was the foster child, the adopted child that never left her father, and she was the one who stayed on the right path, means a lot to a lot of, like, will mean a lot to a lot of people. And I just think it's about time to show an adopted and foster child in nothing but light, and like
Yeah.
nothing bad happening to them, or not them making any sort of mistakes, which we all make mistakes. And I know that we need to see that, and I love that the show never went to a direction of, well, you're not my real sister. Like,
Right.
we see that so many times. I was just like, thank God that it was just, they were sisters. They had a falling out. Like, unfortunately, a lot of people do, but that wasn't the root of the falling out.
Yep.
That was
100%.
the thing that held them together.
It could be so easy to go into those tropes, and they didn't, and it was better for it. Charlie, I know you liked specific character Padawan Dan, and you liked the episode The Elder. Let's talk about that for a sec.
Padawan Dan just seems to be, I kind of like, and I know it's kind of a weird choice, but I just kind of like the dangers of, and really Yoda talked about it with Mason, with Obi-Wan, what kind of walking down the dais there in episode 2, about the young and arrogant, too sure of themselves kind of Jedi. So, he saw danger, he thought he could take it on, and even this, crusty old Sith warrior could sense that Dan was a weakling. And he came right out and said, he says, yeah, I sent somebody strong in the Force nearby, but baby, it ain't you. And then he just takes his ass down. So I'm like, arrogance always loses. And that is, and it's funny, that's a universal lesson that seems to play across the stars. And I like that about him. And then, I too liked Ronan and again, like Lob, for a lot of the reasons that you guys described.
Right. I loved that episode, The Elder, because it completely came off, and someone said this on Twitter, and I was like, woo, like glass shatter, mind blown. It came off like if Qui-Gon lived and trained Anakin. Like, that was kind of the vibes that I was picking up. And I wish I remember who said that on Twitter today, and I don't.
Oh, you have lost Twitter.
Shoot. Speaking of Twitter, though, I did reach out to some of the community, and this is probably a good chance to bring that in. And I asked what people in the community liked about Visions, whether it's a character, episode, that kind of stuff. So we got Reed, the Reed Plays, at Reed Plays on Twitter, came out with actually a question: were there any studios that you were surprised by what they did? So, as the resident anime expert, Bryan, well, compared to Charlie and I am definitely not well versed in anime or know enough of these studios to really comment. Was there anything that surprised you from any of these studios?
So, I mean, I am not a huge anime. Like, I've watched a lot, and then I say that like Akira is one of my favorite movies of all time. But like, I will say, some of our listeners are, and I'm thinking of Alex in particular, they're really, really into anime and really into Star Wars. So Studio Trigger did The Elder that we were just talking about and The Twins. And I was expecting, because of the conversation surrounding Studio Trigger and the queer representation, that we're going to finally get something. And then I was like, okay, we're going to get something on screen because this isn't technically canon, so they can like take a risk. And we didn't. So like that was really disappointing, or not explicitly yet, not maybe in a book we'll get there, but we keep getting that. So I think that's what strikes me the most, which I'm sorry is not a super positive thing, but
That's fine. That's
I
fine.
was really looking forward to that moment of an on-screen queer character. We have a couple of the villains who are very like gender benders and very androgynous, which I was all here for. That was rad. That was great. We talked about that too, but I like that they really leaned into it. Like I appreciate Lop. I appreciate that is a very anime looking character design. Like I said at the beginning, I was like, but she's such a great character, and I appreciate they leaned into that stuff a lot for sure.
Absolutely. There's a few more questions that they asked, but I'm going to move a little bit up the Twitter. So we got Scarlet at Scarlet Scream saying, favorite episode, The Ninth Jedi. Honestly, feels like it needs to be a whole series. Yes. Yeah. 100% yes. Favorite character, Lops. I was like, it basically just, are you reading my mind? Because this is the stuff I'm writing the show notes as I put this out on Twitter, and she just comes back with like exactly what I was feeling. So Reed, though, commented a whole bunch of stuff, and I'll try to read as much as I can. So thank you, Reed. Fantastic interaction on Twitter that I really very much enjoyed. They said personally they loved The Village Bride. That one made them cry, especially the monologue at the end. So that's the thing that made me say, like, I need to rewatch this because I was way too tired. I was like shaking myself to stay awake, and it wasn't because the episode was boring. It was because I was exhausted. So I really need to watch that one. So let's start, I guess, wrapping this up. We're going a little bit long, but so I want to start getting into like the canon. Does it matter? Which of these kind of worked a little bit maybe better in canon, and which ones, I guess, to sum that all up, what would you like to see continued maybe as canon, or at least continued in a more deep dive? Charlie, any concepts or episodes or anything that you want to see?
It's funny because I'm the canon. I don't want to use the word Nazi because it has such a negative connotation.
Yeah,
but I'm
maybe
the
stay away from
canon aficionado, canon insistent. Again, canon it's a straitjacket. It does for me. I've always enjoyed the fact that you can kind of wrap your arms around something when it's called canon, but it can be very limiting. I do see the Ninth Jedi as something that could happen on a far-flung, distant world. If you think about a galaxy, when even in Star Trek, for example, they have the Milky Way galaxy, but it's really maintained within a small portion of it. Where with Star Wars, if you look at the map, it's an entire galaxy, so it's vast. And I've always maintained, and Mark, you kind of shrugged your shoulders at me when I said this, because I said, what if Ron D. Moore's Battlestar Galactica and Star Wars was the same universe? And you were like, I haven't seen that. I don't really. He kind of trailed off. So I was like, I was trying to get him interested, and it was just like, it was no joy target. It was just not going down like that. So yeah, I mean, I see that, and I see the other segment that I enjoyed, which was the duel, as being something that felt very canonical. So enjoyed that because it kind of spoke my language. You know what I mean? But at the same time, again, keep coming back to Star Trek. There's a theory, and it's a segment on our show called Infinite Diversity in Infinite Combinations. So not all things are going to be something to all people. You have to accommodate for different people's tastes. So if somebody saw Tatooine Rhapsody, which I thought was asinine, and thought it was the greatest thing since sliced bread, I celebrate that. Why shouldn't I? It's not I didn't write the damn thing. It doesn't really have anything to do with how I feel about something. So it's okay.
Yeah, exactly. And Empire still exists. It's not like Star
Yes,
Wars has been replaced by Tatooine Rhapsody, and that's what you
child
have to deal
childhood
with.
unruined.
Yeah, right. It's if it's not for you, go back and watch Empire and have a good night. Brian,
Yep.
what do you think? What is there anything that sticks out to you that you'd like to kind of see continued in the
I mean,
future?
the Ninth Jedi, hands down.
Yeah,
I think that story really lends itself to a series or a mini series or a movie or something. And I agree. I think that one has the easiest time to fit into canon because it was set so far into the future that it's kind of unwritten at this moment. I think La Pinocho is another one that just kind of ends in this spot, and I like
yeah,
the idea of Lop having this new family legacy saber and what that could mean in a family outside of a Skywalker. I
yes.
think is really really cool, and to see what a character like that would do, I would hope she is a Jedi, that if she becomes a Jedi, if she's force sensitive or any of those things, that wouldn't leave slaves on a planet because they're inconvenient.
Right. Yeah.
Ouch. Awkward.
Yeah. No, I have to agree that that for anything to continue, yeah, I think it'd be the Ninth Jedi. Just and for the simple fact that it happens so far out of
Mhm.
anything else. We have kind of a rough timeline. They haven't all been like firmly established, but there's hints in pretty much every episode that you can kind of parse it out.
Yep.
Like Tatooine Rhapsody is pretty easy to get that it's right before the original trilogy, right? Because you
Mhm.
have characters like Boba Fett, Jabba the Hutt. You have a Padawan who escaped Order 66 and is a little bit older, so it's probably around that Jedi Fallen Order original trilogy time kind of thing. But like some of them are a little tougher, but that one's clear, like you said, it's a big jump, and it's seeing
Mhm.
where the Jedi go, and that's kind of the story that I hope we pick up with. Um, Another thing Reed asked, anything that you guys feel just like kind of flopped, didn't really work. You don't really care, um, if it continues. This will be the kind of last thing we talk about, I guess, going out on a low note. But Charlie, anything specific to you?
You already know my answer, so why turn that into glue? You know what I'm saying?
Fine, good enough. Brian,
Whack,
anything?
whack, whack.
You know,
What's the weak link here?
I'm telling you, I really loved all of it,
Yeah.
but I think the Elder for me is the one that I've watched the least. But with that said, I know I'm gonna totally dig it. It's just really, really dialogue heavy,
Mhm.
and I know that it's gonna be one that I have to munch on. So I'm waiting till I can process everything else, and I'm looking forward to going back to that episode because I think there's some really cool conversations being had, and I love
Mhm.
Charlie. You brought up the uh, Revenge of the Sith when they're walking down or no, that's
Right.
Attack of the Clones, isn't it?
That was Attack of the Clones, yeah.
When they're walking down the thing, having that conversation, because there's a lot of that energy in that
Hmm.
whole thing that I'm here for, but I'm not here for it yet.
For me, I think just based on it's more of a what if episode, and I think it's the twins.
Hmm. Right,
Um,
yeah, because you say, "Oh, we can grow Sith twins," and it's like, "What are
right,
you
and then
talking
it's
about? I don't get
and it's
it."
kind of like apparently that kind of happens like after the fall of the First Order, so it's like the remnants of the First Order trying to build these dark side twins, and it's like to me, and it was so over the top at times, with just some of and I appreciated the over the top art style, but as far as like something I want to continue, it was like I appreciated it for what it was at the time, but it's the one I'm least likely to want to pursue in the future, if that kind of makes sense. So
Yeah.
there we go. So Reed, thank you so much for interacting so much and asking some great questions. Sorry we couldn't get to all of them. This episode, I think, is our longest episode yet to begin with.
Potentially,
Uh,
and it's good. And I feel bad just because the subject matter strays from something that I feel like I can talk about intelligently or
Hey, no
have
worries. No
great
worries. It's
perspective on. So I'm glad that I was at least I do feel like I was along for the ride, um but really I have valid thoughts. I really do. But kind of outside the cartoony stuff, though, I did obviously enjoy the Clone Wars and Rebels and things of that nature. So, but
of course.
I'm glad, even if this is not my sweet spot. that Star Wars is taking chances, because that's something that our shared cosplay husband Mark, the curmudgeon, little Todd Oxtra, always gripes about Star Wars being so very stagnant and static, and we're set in that 5-year period in the original trilogy, and you got to know what Lando had for breakfast the day after The Empire Strikes Back happened. So for them to simply say, we're gonna just shake up the snow globe, and we're gonna absolutely go to different corners and do different stuff and stuff. I admire the effort, even if I don't personally embrace the results of it, because it's not about me, it's about who that does speak to. And that is the essence of entertainment that so many fanboys, if you will, the militant kind, which is my number one pet peeve in all of this, can't get behind. They got to be like, I don't like it, and if you like it, you're a friggin' moron. Well, what does that even mean?
Yeah.
What does that even mean? It
And
doesn't mean anything.
See, Charlie, this is why I love having you as a co-host, because we don't have to agree, and we can bring some different perspectives. And if you don't like something, you can still appreciate the hell out of people enjoying it. So thank you for listening to Bryan and I kind of geek out for the last hour about this stuff, and just kind of being happy for us. That's great. Thank you for leading by example for like what an old school Star Wars fan can still kind of love.
Oh, you like throwing that old part out there, don't you?
Old school. I didn't say old.
young whippersnapper. Old
school. Did not say old. That is officially on the record. Bryan will back me up, I'm sure. That's right. Bryan, thank you so much for joining us. This has been a delight. I'm sorry we had to rush through some stuff. I really thought we'd have a bit more time to dive down in 1 or 2 episodes, but thanks for being flexible with us and of course jumping on all of these episodes. Would you like to tell people where to find you?
Well, first, thank you for having me. I really appreciate it. I love what you all do. I am a listener of your show, and
thank you.
Always enjoy it. It's great.
How flattering! I love it. Yeah. Thank you.
No, you're welcome. It's a good time. Yeah, you can find me and the show on both Instagram and Twitter at Serving Pink Milk, and then you can listen to our podcasts on Mondays and Wednesdays. Wednesday is my husband Tom and I talking Star Wars for us super fans and those forced to listen to us, and then late night live stream every Friday on YouTube. You can find us at Pink Milk Podcast, where we take much deeper dives into Star Wars with myself, Mark, Emma, and Chase. And it was totally a really good time.
Awesome. I have not previously checked it out, but now I will.
One of my favorite shows.
I like it. Honestly, if anyone thank you. If anyone can make that live stream, the Steam room, our chat room, is like the nicest group of people. Like, it is a blast. There's a good 15-20 people that are there week to week afterwards, and people that flowed in and out, and they're just a really great group of people. I have to say, that's the one thing. Like, I haven't made it to one of those live chats and stuff, and I always listen, but it's always a few days later, and that's a goal. That is 100% like a goal for me. Awesome. And I just have to make sure I'm conscious at that time. And make it happen, because I can't wait to jump in. Thanks again. I hope we'll talk again soon. And Charlie, want to tell people where they can find us?
Well, that's the job of the canned outro,
I suppose.
So what I'm going to tell people is to thank you for joining us. I know. Let me refer you to the robot.
Doing the.
I hear you. I know. But I'm going to tell you, friends, as always, thank you for joining us. I'm going to tell you that sharing is caring, and to keep on trucking.
May the force be with you. Rex, play us out. This podcast is part of the Secret Friends Unite podcasting network. Visit secretfriendsunite.com for more great shows, articles, news, reviews, and more. Secret Friends Unite podcasts are available on Apple, Google, Spotify, and other podcast services around the world. If you'd like to be part of the conversation, you can join us on Facebook or our new Discord server, or follow at Secret Friends U on Twitter. Please subscribe to Secret Friends Unite on YouTube and visit our merch store at tpublic.com. Just search Secret Friends Unite. Thanks for listening.